Alleluia, 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 alleluia. We praise you, O God, we acclaim you as Lord. The glorious company of apostles praise you. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. On the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene ran and went to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved and told them, "They have taken the Lord from the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." So Peter and the other disciple went out and came to the tomb. They both ran, but the other disciple ran faster than Peter and arrived at the tomb first. He bent down and saw the burial cloths there, but did not go in. When Simon Peter arrived after him, he went into the tomb and saw the burial cloths there, and the cloth that had covered his head, not with the burial cloths, but rolled up in a separate place. Then the other disciple also went in, the one who had arrived at the tomb first, and he saw and believed. The Gospel of the Lord. Today is the feast of St. John the Evangelist, this next feast in the Christmas octave. St. John the Evangelist is my confirmation saint, so happy feast day to me, right? Many people used to address me as Michael Jeffrey John Bauer, right? And include my confirmation saint. It's a kind of a good practice that all of us could be doing to always remember our confirmation saint. St. John, of course, was the youngest of the disciples of Jesus. It is believed that he was probably a member of the Essene Jewish sect. Right? There were different sects of Judaism in the days of Jesus: the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Zealots, and the Essenes. And so St. John was likely a member of the Essene community. We think this because many things in his writings resonate with some of the writings that we discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which was at the Qumran community, which was another community, which was a sect of this Essene sect. Also, St. John, we don't have any history or record of him ever being married, so presumably he was celibate from a young age, which was a common characteristic among the Essene Jews. The Essenes knew that the Messiah was coming anytime soon, right? And so they were preparing themselves by basically living a life of penance and mortification and often celibacy, right? This was a common characteristic of the Essene Jews. St. John was, of course, the disciple that Jesus loved, right? We read about this all throughout the Gospels. It's kind of interesting, right? Many scholars speculate about why he called himself the beloved disciple, or why he kind of brags about himself, right? When he's writing his Gospel passage today. You know, Simon Peter and I ran to the tomb, but I ran faster, right? Imagine St. John saying these things. St. John was the only apostle who was not actually martyred. They tried to martyr him in various ways. They tried giving poison in his priest chalice. They tried boiling him with water. Still just outside of St. John Lateran in Rome, you can still see the spot where they tried to boil him alive. But he survived all of these attempts at killing him. And so eventually he was exiled by the Emperor Nero to the island of Patmos. That's where he had the vision of the apocalypse. It is according to tradition, when he came back from exile, it is said that he settled down in Ephesus. And so he was the bishop in Ephesus. And we also know, according to tradition, that Mary stayed with him in Ephesus. Right? Jesus entrusted Mary to him on the cross. St. John is often depicted in Catholic symbolism as an eagle, Right? There's the 4 living creatures that we hear about in the book of Revelation and the book of Ezekiel. And one of those living creatures was an eagle. And so the church fathers always thought that represented St. John's gospel, because his gospel soars to the heights of different theological truths. Of all of the gospels, St. John seems to be the most theological and oftentimes the most Catholic, the most sacramental. Right? And so his gospel is a great gospel to read when you are first starting to read the New Testament. Something that I think is particularly striking about St. John is that he dives into the mystery of the incarnation, perhaps more than any other New Testament writer. The fact that the invisible and infinite God has made himself visible and tangible and finite for us. One of my priest friends, he actually, on his chalice, he actually has the words that we have today from this first reading. What was from the beginning, what we have heard and seen with our own eyes, what we looked upon and touched with our hands. We have seen it and testify it, and now proclaim to you what we have seen. He has this on his priest chalice, right? Not only to speak about the incarnation, but also the incarnation that happens every single Mass, that the bread and the wine is changed into the body and blood of Christ inside the chalice. The new temple, the new tabernacle, holding the blood of Christ for us.